because I myself didn't even realize that what I was doing was my way of emotionally healing from everything that had happened to me. Hello, welcome back to another Chats with Megs. Get your tea ready. I have a hot peppermint tea here, and let's get chatting. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another Chats with Megs. Today's video is actually one that's really near and dear to my heart. I've really been wanting to make it for a while, and it's me explaining now years later how I emotionally processed my cancer journey. And the reason that I'm saying that it's years later is because it literally only happened recently that I realized that what I was doing in the couple years previous, like right after I kind of was in remission and all that, from up until then, basically till now, which is like almost 4 years, what I was doing in between those different parts of my journey, those different emotions I was going through, a lot of it just ended up being how I was processing going through cancer and how I was kind of emotionally healing from it, indirectly, because I didn't realize that that's what it was until now. I shared a lot of my cancer journey online, and a lot of it was the diagnosis, the treatments I was going through, how I was dealing with side effects, a lot of the physical aspects of it. And I did make a few videos here and there about the emotional side of things. And then you'll notice that at a certain point, I stopped. I stopped talking about it. I stopped making videos about it. I made a video about how I was gonna stop talking about it. That is actually a product of me emotionally healing from my journey. Like I said, I shared a lot of the physical part of it, but I didn't share a lot of the emotional healing part of it because I myself didn't even realize that what I was doing was my way of emotionally healing from everything that had happened to me. I feel like in a sense that because I did share my journey online and I did have a very positive outlook, and the things you did see on video, the positivity, the happiness, that was me in reality. Yes, there were days where I was upset. Yes, there were days where I would cry and have breakdowns, but for a lot of it, I did keep up a very positive attitude and a very positive outlook on the whole situation, which I still till this day am very happy that I did. But I think with that positive outlook and all that, I kind of put back the feelings of what I was going through and how I was feeling kind of like after the fact. And I kind of just ran with my emotions and I kept going on with life, not realizing that I hadn't fully dealt with emotionally and processed a lot of the stuff that had actually happened with being diagnosed with stage 4 cancer as a 22-year-old. And it was just kind of like me and my boyfriend, us against the world. We weren't really having our families involved in this. We were just kind of doing it, the two of us. I was learning a lot of stuff really, really quickly as a really young adult and figuring it all out really quickly, making big life-altering decisions really, really quickly. And it was a lot. And I'm very, very proud of me, and I'm very proud of us in the way that we handled it. We came out stronger than ever, and that is just now something that we look back and we're like, holy shit, as if we did go through that 4 years later. But again, a lot of it was unprocessed for a really long time, and it came out in different ways. That being said, my whole phase that I went through of not sharing my cancer journey anymore, of saying I don't want to talk about it online, I don't want to bring it up, not really sharing it with people that I was meeting that were newer in my life, that was all me processing it emotionally in a way. And so how I actually realized that, interesting story. So I was very lucky to be asked to be on a panel this year for Prime Day, which is part of Young Adult Cancer Canada. If you haven't checked out their organization, they are amazing. So Young Adult Cancer Canada is just a big organization within Canada that shares a lot of resources. And then within cities, bigger cities within Canada, they have their own groups and they have their own meetups. And I think now post-COVID, they're starting those back up again. So if that's something that you have not looked into, but that's something you're interested in, definitely give that a scroll on their website, on their Instagram. I will link everything down below. But anyway, as of recently, they host events and they're called Primetown. So Primetown is basically just like an online event, well, it has been as of the last 2-3 years, where there's just basically a whole weekend of nonstop things happening, whether that be panels, discussions, different information sessions. And it's essentially meant for young adults who are going through cancer, their families, their caregivers, and medical staff. And it's an amazing event that I've been lucky to be a part of for 2 years in a row. So the first year that I was there, I got to do like a little bit of a speech about positivity and self-care. And then the second year I was on a panel, and the panel was me and a bunch of other content creators from within Canada who shared their journey publicly. And what I thought was extremely interesting about that was that all of us had shared our story publicly, but all of us had done it in such a different way. So to me, it was really cool that all of us had shared our stories, but just in a very different way. And we were kind of talking through how we had processed our journey. And I think literally in the middle of that panel, and I just remember stopping people and being like, this is literally when it clicked for me, that up until that moment that I was sitting on that panel, I hadn't realized that I had still been emotionally processing and maybe even like grieving the things that had happened to me year after year after year of my initial diagnosis, then my almost year of treatment, and then my 2-3 years of building my life back together. And right now I feel so blessed to be able to sit here and to have that realization and to say that from an outside perspective, I can now see my cancer journey full circle from even the emotional side, because I feel like a lot of the times, like I said, it was just in the moment, so go, go, go. It was treatment after treatment, and then after treatment, it was like recovery, and then after recovery is getting my health back and my body back and getting back to work, and then just so many things, and life kind of slowly started coming back to normal. But a lot of it was I didn't realize that in my mind, I still had so much, and I want to say like unfinished business with what had happened to me. So a lot of that came up during this Primetown event, and I felt so like proud, and a light bulb went off that I was like, I just feel so happy with myself that although at the time I didn't know it, and it did cause a lot of extra confusion and suffering, and maybe it was confusing to others about how I was so open about my journey, and then suddenly I shut off and I didn't want to talk about it anymore. I don't know, it just felt really nice that it all kind of made sense to me, because at the time it was like I didn't want to talk about it anymore because I felt like I wanted to catch up with life and I wanted to move past it, not necessarily forget about it, but just, it wasn't the biggest thing about me anymore. It wasn't the one thing that people knew about me anymore. And I wanted to kind of move on with life. Part of that was true because it really did help me move forward and move past it and not have that as my whole identity, because I did feel at sometimes that I was getting lost in that identity. But now I also realize that it was, my mind just needed to heal. And because it had been such a traumatic thing for me, just having gone through all of that, I just needed to kind of put it to the side and bring other goodness and things into my life. And then once I had that, I kind of could take time to then reflect on how truly hard it had been at the time for me to go through all of that. So all this to say that everybody processes things differently, and maybe you haven't gone through cancer, or you have and you're realizing, wow, like I'm feeling the exact same way, or I dealt with it in a completely different way, or you've gone through something traumatic in your life, not necessarily cancer, and thinking that maybe just not talking about it and pushing it away actually was just your way of coping. Or maybe like me, you didn't really know how to cope with it emotionally. And so that's just what I realized about myself. When I don't really know how to cope with things, I just put them to the back of my mind and I just keep going with life. But things do keep coming up. And so one way that I was able to kind of work with that and kind of come to that realization as well was to actually go through therapy. So pretty late into my journey, probably 2 years after being in remission, I spoke with my medical team and I asked if there's any sort of therapy services, because I just figured maybe I could benefit from them. And luckily there were, and I was connected to a young adult cancer therapist in my city, and we did all of our meetings through Zoom because at the time it was just like full-blown COVID. But he was just so amazing at helping me kind of unravel a lot of the stuff that was my cancer journey, but also my life prior to that and kind of my life moving forward. And it was just so nice to be able to speak with somebody who wasn't directly involved in your journey, because, well, their opinion wasn't biased. However, also, you're unloading onto somebody who doesn't personally know you. It's one thing to, speak with someone who's close to you, but since they're close to you and, they love you, they support you, they also take on some of that baggage. And sometimes it can be really hard, because sometimes I unload a lot of my emotions on Alex, and he's a tough guy. I know he can handle it, but at the same time, part of that, hearing my worries, hearing my sadness, it can take a toll on a person. And so having someone who's a third party, who's trained, who's able to just like help you work through those different things, those different emotions, it really brought a lot of things to life for me. He helped me kind of feel like validated in my emotions. He helped me work through a lot of stuff. He helped me open my eyes to a lot of the habits that I was having, or a lot of, you know, the different tactics that I would do when I would get stressed, or if something scary would come up and the thoughts of maybe cancer returning and stuff like that. He helped me really work through my emotions. So therapy is so amazing. I really, really, really wish I had him throughout my entire cancer journey. I definitely think that it would have been a lot easier for me with the emotional point of view of even just realizing that I had emotional trauma, because part of it also was like, I thought I was totally fine. And it wasn't until a while later that I realized I did have a lot of unresolved emotional trauma that I was dealing with. Anyways, sometimes it just takes a lot of time for you to realize different things that happened years ago. And this is the case for me. And sorry if this chat seemed all over the place, but I just wanted to be honest about the things that happened. I was super positive throughout my journey, and it was all real. The way that you saw me in those videos was the way other people in my life, was the way that Alex saw me. Like I said, of course, there was other times where I was really sad, or I was upset, or I was having breakdowns, or I was worried, but for the most part, I did keep a very positive outlook, and I did continue with that. But I'm human. I went through something really, really challenging at a really, really young age, and with, you know, I had the support of the internet, but in my day-to-day life, it was a lot of just me and Alex, and I'm forever thankful for him, forever blessed to have had such a strong person in my life who held my hand when I truly wasn't strong enough to stand on my own. But it was a lot. And so that was just kind of, yeah, from 4 years looking in perspective of how I was dealing with a lot of it was avoiding it, not talking about it. Anyway, I'm gonna keep ranting if I don't stop talking. So that's that. My throat's really getting dry from all this talking, damn. I did have one more thing I wanted to quickly add into this video, and it does have to do with advocating for yourself. Today I had a follow-up appointment with my oncologist and her team, and it was just like my regular follow-up. I just keep still having regular follow-ups, and today I brought up kind of 2 smaller concerns that I had, and this isn't the first time, but I truly felt like I was just brushed off. Like, they were kind of like, yeah, whatever about my concerns. And it's not the first time that this has happened to me with my medical team. And they know me as someone who's very like, I'm gonna ask all the questions and I'm gonna get the answers I want. But I do feel like at a certain point in my journey, once I started getting better for a while, they wouldn't really take me seriously. And it's unfortunate that I left this appointment instead of feeling happy and positive like I usually do and thankful. I am thankful because all my tests came back good, I'm healthy, everything's fine, but these 2 concerns that I have, although they might be smaller, obviously there's a chance that something could happen with them. And it has happened to me, unfortunately, in the past where there was something that was small, but I just had a gut feeling that something was wrong, and they pushed it off for months and months. And at the end of the day, I kept pushing, and I was right. There was something going on. But anyways, that's a story for another day. However, I just want to say that you deserve the answers that you want. You deserve the respect and the care that you want to have. And so if you feel like you are being pushed off, or if you're being not fully listened to, 100% advocate for yourself. 100%, if the medical team you have is not a right fit for you, you have the right to go find another medical team, or speak with them and say, I honestly feel like you were brushing me off today, and I don't think that's fair. I understand that right now in the world there's a lot going on medically. I understand there are a lot of people who suffer from this disease and a lot of people who do require attention. However, at the end of the day, this is my health, and these are the healthcare professionals that I am entrusting my health in. Because as much as I've done probably the majority of my healing all on my own, from a medical standpoint, I don't know the ins and outs of the medical side of things. I try my best to learn, but I'm not a doctor. And so I just really felt disheartened and disappointed with the way I left feeling my appointment today, with the way I felt leaving my appointment today, sorry. But yeah, just putting that out there, that if you do ever feel like you're not being heard, speak up. It's your health, and you have a right to get the answers that you want. But with that being said, I still want this to be a positive video, even though this was a really weird, long rant about some hard stuff. But I'm always here to listen and chat with you. So if you do ever want to reach out and chat, please send me a DM on Instagram. You can find it right over here. And please give this video a thumbs up if you did find it to be helpful. If there are any other topics that are cancer related that you would like me to elaborate on and speak about that I personally can speak on, because there's a lot of things that cancer patients and survivors do go through that I personally can't relate to. But if it is something I can relate to, I would love to chat about it. So please leave it down in the description box below. But with that being said, I will see you all next time. Know yourself, know your body, and until next time.